Bendeich with his 20th icebreaker called Thank Heavens for Trees. Is it?
Are you asking me or telling me?
Just reassure me.
Thanks, Pauline. Thank you, Pauline. Thank heavens for trees.
Thank heavens for trees.
Oh, what a great introduction. Thank you, Pauline. You're an absolute champion. Give me a hug, you darling. Hug a tree. Well, then sit down and let me deliver this speech if you want to mind. I'm not really sure if I've started yet. Thank you. Madam Toastmaster, good friends of Burwood Toastmasters. This speech is not about carbon tax.
Thank God.
There is probably one point of time in your life when you have thanked heavens for a tree. Now, this tree happened to be in my way. Let me take you back some 36, 37 years. My brother had just turned 17 and licence in hand and a new, well, not exactly new, but a 1963 Volkswagen Deluxe in tow, decided that instead of continuing on with his high school education in Year 11, he wanted to drive to Cairns from Sydney. And I'm assuming that he also wanted to drive back at some stage. And during the May school holidays of that year, he said to me, "Hey, why don't you come with me? I need some companionship. It's going to be a long drive, but hey, it'll be lots of fun." Now, I can't imagine what my parents were thinking, letting a 17-year-old with his new licence, an old beat-up Volkswagen, and a 14-year-old brother take a trip of some 3,500 kilometres along the coast of Australia to Cairns and back. And I know damn well there's no way none of my kids would be able to do that, because I know how much fun, how much danger can happen on a trip like that. But it certainly was an adventure. We hadn't really reached Grafton before the first issue came about. The car broke down, and we were stuck in Grafton for about 3 days while we organised a part to be shipped up from Sydney. Now, we were a bit lucky because my brother's sister and her husband lived in Grafton, and they were happy to put us up for those ensuing days. So we did save a few dollars on accommodation, but lost about $150 on the part. Now, most people would have decided that with such a start, it's probably a good idea to just turn around and head back home. We've had our adventure, we've had our fun, let's go back. Not us. We ventured beyond Tweed Heads, up through Southport and on to Brisbane, where my mother's sister had a place. And cousins were greeted and footballs were kicked around, and lots of fun was had by reacquainting ourselves with our Queensland cousins. Another couple of days passed, and further up the coast we went. The Big Pineapple in Nambour, wow, was closely followed by miles and miles of cane field and cane field and cane fields, with not much in between. Up through Mackay, Bundaberg, Townsville, Rockhampton we ventured, until finally reaching the Holy Grail, which was at that time Cairns. Now, I don't actually remember much about it, and there's probably a good reason why I don't remember much about it, was because we didn't stay in Cairns for all that long. Enough time, I think we hit Cairns about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we probably hadn't had lunch. So we ducked into the local milk bar, where we acquainted ourselves with the usual fare of hamburger, chips and milkshake. Teenage boys, they thrive on stuff like that. So why wouldn't you try one of those in Cairns? So we decided to head west over what they call the Atherton Tableland. And the Atherton Tableland is a beautiful mixture of farmland, pasture and rainforest. So you can imagine the hills and the winding travelling road as it meandered through the hills, around the valleys. And just on dusk, the inevitable happened. Has anyone been driving a Volkswagen 1963 version? There was no such thing as power steering. There was no such thing as anti-lock brakes. There was no such thing as hit the anchors when you really need it. Because as we rounded one particular corner, it was a little sharper than what we expected. And instead of staying on the road, we actually ran down an embankment. Now you can imagine that a 17-year-old boy and a 14-year-old boy, you can imagine how we were feeling at the time. Just a little scared, just a little overawed by the situation. And in those milliseconds that it took to drive down the embankment off the road, we were probably glad there wasn't a car coming the other way, because surely we would have run right into it and that might have been it for us. However, the inevitable happened. We hit one of those trees which is capturing our carbon for us these days. Bang! Into the tree we went. We had all of our luggage in the back, and as we hit the tree, it came over our back, pushing me into the windscreen. I headbutted the windscreen, put a great big hole right in the middle of it. And you're probably thinking, damn that tree, I wish it hadn't been there. I've got to share this with you. If it hadn't have been for that tree, it was the only thing that stopped us going over the 30-foot ravine. Because as that road meandered, it cut a gully. And that particular tree saved our life. There's another part to the story which we'll make leave for another time. But don't ever be afraid to run into a tree when you need it. Thanks.